Employees of McDonald's, what secrets did you discover while working there? My old McDonald's had a basement. My first day on the job, I was told to be on the lookout for the elderly gentleman who would try to sneak around the counter and pour the entire coffee pot into his mug while everyone was too busy to stop him. Sauces for sandwiches have the craziest dispensers. Ketchup and mustard are in these really rudimentary plastic funnel things that have a paddle in the handle. When you squeeze it, gravity pushes just the right amount of sauce through holes. Doesn't seem like it'd work well, but it does if you apply the proper amount of jiggling. The mac sauce, mayo, and tartar though, they're in basically cock tubes that get loaded into basically cock guns. You pull the trigger on the handle and a really satisfying ratchetty clanking delivers a powerfully saucy surprise for the awaiting buns. Problem is, it takes a bit of finesse because if you hit that trigger too hard, you'll blow the bun and the wad of creme right through the condiment station and onto the wall 8 feet away. No joke, the first couple tartar splurts of a fresh tube came out so hot I'd fire a shot or two in the trash to avoid premature splatulation during the lunch rush. The first salvo, properly elevated and adjusted for wind, could clear the whole kitchen and take out the McInfantry on the cash register. Depending on which one you work at, the parking lot is basically a meet-up for druggies, drug dealers, and, at least where I was in New Mexico, people to meet up and have sex in their cars. As long as they kept their business to the middle of the night and didn't cause any serious problems, we were told not to call the cops or make a fuss, mostly because they'd come in and buy food after their shenanigans. Soda and mini pies were really popular with heroin addicts. What I later found out is that management was actually told to let it slide by corporate, since everyone higher up was aware of how much money the night crowd brought in. I got to see many drug deals. I'm convinced I saw at least one arms deal, but I of course have no way of verifying that. Before I worked there, I always thought they used a grill. Turns it's more of a heated press machine. Drop any unopened chicken nugget sauce on the ground once, you've got yourself a sauce grenade. The pickles are surprisingly aerodynamic. They stick to walls and, if you have the stones, managers' shirts pretty well. Cool story. I worked there in my teens for a couple years. Actually worked at 2 different locations, so I saw the difference in standards. At one store there was a guy who always rode his bike to the store every single day to hang out. He was on the spectrum. Slow, and McDonald's was kind of his castle. Everyone knew him and he got a lot of free food from the employees. He was a daily part of the shift for us. Anyway, one day he had one too many root beers. This was a thing he normally did. Because he pretended the root beers were like real beers and he would get drunk. Everyone kind of would go along with it because he was funny and never did anything too wild. Unfortunately, this day he took it a little too far and ended up in the parking lot throwing bottles at cars driving by. Long story short, guy was arrested and he was banned from that McDonald's for life. Kinda felt bad about it because that McDonald's was his favorite place to be. He would pull through at 3 or 4 on his bike and stay and hang out with employees until like 8 every single day. Before that incident, one of the managers even made him his own little parking spot for his bicycle. He was happy as hell. I think about that guy sometimes. Hope he's found himself a new McDonald's. Lol. Worked there in high school. Found out that if you put the middle of a Mac bun in the fryer and then add soft serve and strawberry topping, it tastes just like a funnel cake. Custom creations were the best part of working there. Edit. I have thoroughly enjoyed hearing about all of your own custom creations. You have all made my workday much less boring, so thank you. I worked there when I was in high school. Not a secret, but I hadn't known much about franchises before then. I hadn't realized that McDonald's could vary quite a bit in quality and professionalism based on who the owners were and what type of management, workplace they set up. I worked at a really good one, with good management, but some are shit. Former employee here. I found out that, when making 5 gallons of sweet tea, an entire 4-pound bag of sugar goes in. Sandwiches with round egg use real, cracked eggs. Folded and scrambled come from packaged goods in the freezer or fridge. I also had a manager that insisted more people purchase filet-o-fish when it's raining out because they subconsciously associate the watery weather with fish. Anyway, he did some research by poring through sales of filet-o-fish for months and months and comparing it to weather data for each day. Turns out he found something like a 3% increase on rainy days and was very pleased with himself. Edit. Wow. I will answer some of your questions up here so people can see. The manager voiced his theory one day, and the crews all argued with him about it. This went on for a while. He was committed to proving us wrong, so he secretly pulled the sales numbers at work and did the rest on his own time, never breathing a word until he brought his printed report in. To shut us all up. He did separate Fridays during Lent and compared those days to each other in anticipation of having holes poked in his research. We still did that anyway, of course. As pointless and imperfect as the research was, it was impressive to see his commitment to giving us the middle finger. My manager used to be on my back all of the time for giving out too much sauce. He tried telling me the limit is 1 per meal. Edit. I am based in the UK. Our portions generally are smaller here, but I would still give out as many sauces as possible, FCK being stingy. The official deodorizing spray they gave us is the most pleasant thing I've ever smelled in my entire life. Even now, I wish I could smell it again. Edit. Okay, so this is a spray you use on the bathrooms or the ball pit to make them smell better. Not personalized deodorant. I learned that if I have time to lean, I have time to clean. I worked at McDonald's when they first introduced sweet tea and remember that it was brewed in a large bucket mixing hot water with a full bag of granulated sugar. It makes me sick to think about, but I still sometimes crave that disgustingly sweet tasty garbage. Dehydrated onions, you put them in a metal thing and just add water. The thing is, they still taste great. But I was shocked and happy that I didn't have to go cut onions. Worked at McDonald's Australia. Back when we had the old cheeseburger buns, before McDonald's got healthy, we used to scrunch up the buns and deep fry in the fry vat. Covered them in sugar, and you end up with something tasting like donuts. Man. Reading these, I am wondering why my McDonald's was so boring. We didn't spit on anything. The stuff that needed to be kept clean was kept clean. If it wasn't required, it would be filthy. The ice cream machine worked fine. Food wasn't undercooked, on occasion it was overcooked. Employing high school kids, of course they are gonna make some mistakes, but nothing too bad. Worked in one from 2000 to 2005. During this time, they changed the bacon. The new bacon isn't as good. During this time, they changed the shake mix. The new shake mix isn't as good. The shake machine works just fine, so long as someone remembers to fill it before it gets too empty and goes into automatic 90-minute self-clean mode. It also takes a very long time to start up, so if someone forgets, there's no shakes for 30 minutes. This was never a problem for me, whenever I did opening shift. I'd kick off the coffee brewing for my team, then start up the shake machine for myself. The chocolate chip cookies and McGriddles taste amazing if you eat fresh out of the oven. Always made an extra half tray for myself. If you're ordering a meal, say the size first, large number 1 with a Coke. Everyone knows that ordering the meal is cheaper than getting that same sandwich, fries, and drink individually. But here's the secret. The POS has a button for the large number 1 and a different button for the medium number 1, then another menu for the drinks. So if you say, I want a number 1 with a Coke, I can't hit any buttons until I know the sizes of the meal, the size of the fries, and the size of the drink.